Ever get the feeling like some folks um, are going through life never quite getting why they feel different? Like something's just, a little off.
Definitely.
Today we're diving into something that's, well, surprisingly common, autism in adults.
And it's something that often gets missed, right? People think autism, they think kids.
Exactly. We've got this article, Spotting Autism in Adults. What jumps out at you right off the bat?
It's like this huge realization that tons of adults, they've been out there navigating a world that doesn't quite click with how their brain works,
Yeah.
And they've adapted, but
It's probably been tough, I'd imagine.
oh, absolutely. This article is like finally acknowledging this whole thing.
It keeps saying manifest in various ways.
Yep.
Makes you think of that whole spectrum thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Think of it like,
Yeah.
imagine a line. Yeah. But it's got every single color, one blending into the next, each shade. That's someone's experience with autism.
That actually makes it so much clearer. It's not like one set of boxes to check off. Speaking of which, the article lists, social challenges? Like, we all have those awkward moments, but is it different for autistic adults?
Oh, for sure. Imagine if like every little social cue, every bit of body language was like a minefield you had to navigate.
Oh, never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
And all that small talk, the sarcasm.
Exhausting.
Totally. Then there's this whole thing about sensory sensitivities, which I gotta admit, I'm kind of clueless about.
Picture this. You're in an office, fluorescent lights are buzzing, that fake air freshener smell, keyboards clacking everywhere.
Ugh, yeah, I can picture it.
Now, for someone with sensory sensitivities, that's not just annoying, it's overwhelming, like impossible to focus.
Makes you realize how much we take for granted, huh?
For sure.
Oh, what about those repetitive behaviors? Stimming, right?
Yeah. Stimming.
I've got this friend, he clicks his pen like crazy when he's thinking hard.
It could be his way of dealing with all the input, like a way to regulate. And it's not always movements. Could be listening to the same song on repeat, organizing things, even doodling.
Like those little things we all do, but maybe more intense for someone on the spectrum.
Kinda, yeah. It helps him feel grounded.
So if you're listening and this is all like resonating for the first time, the article mentions getting a diagnosis. Why is that a big deal, especially as an adult?
It can be huge, actually. Like, imagine finally understanding why you've always felt a bit different.
Yeah, like a light bulb moment.
Totally. And it's not about slapping a label on it. It's more like empowering people with knowledge,
And maybe finding the right kind of help too, right?
Exactly. There are therapies specifically for autistic adults, groups where they can connect with others who get it, even career advice that makes sense for how their brain works.
Makes sense. Hey, speaking of help, this article is actually from a website, Cheap ABA. Kind of a jarring name, but also intriguing. What's the deal with ABA therapy and why the focus on cost?
Good catch. So ABA, that's applied behavior analysis. You hear about it a lot with kids, but it's growing for adults too.
And what is it exactly?
It's not about fixing someone,
Yeah.
okay? It's more like figuring out how their behavior connects to what's around them. Like, you break down big goals into smaller steps, then use positive stuff, encouragement to help them learn.
So instead of just expecting someone to function a certain way, it's about giving them the tools to get there.
Exactly. And here's the thing. ABA therapy, it ain't cheap. You need trained people. It's a big time commitment. So Cheap ABA, they're trying to make it doable for families who couldn't afford it otherwise.
That's got to be a game changer for a lot of folks. This whole conversation, it really makes you realize there's so much more to autism than meets the eye, huh?
It's way deeper than most people realize. And it's not just the individual, it's families, support systems. Even how society's set up can make or break things.
Yeah, it's like we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg here.
Exactly. And that's why we got to keep talking about this stuff, going deeper than the stereotypes, the assumptions, really getting what it's like to be an autistic adult.
I feel like I've been walking around with blinders on, and now I'm finally starting to see things differently.
I love that. It's like opening yourself up to a whole new way of experiencing the world, right?
Totally.
Yes.
And it makes you realize this deep dive, it's just the beginning. There's a ton more to learn, so much research, and most importantly, hearing from autistic people themselves.
Absolutely. Their voices are key in all this.
So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from all this?
Tough one, but I'd say approach autism with curiosity, not judgment, you know? Listen to autistic voices, check your own biases, and fight for a world where being neurodiverse is just normal.
Thought I said it better myself. And to everyone listening, you're not alone. If this got you thinking, if you want more info, even just to connect with people who get it, there's a whole bunch of resources out there. Reach out, keep learning, keep asking questions. That's all we've got for today's deep dive. Thanks for being here.